So taking raw data and organizing with a table or a graph is wonderful, but you also want to sometimes describe individual things about the data or characteristics about the data with numbers. So we call those numbers measures, and we're going to look in this section at measures of what we call center. So a number that would kind of represent the center of the data or what's most frequent about the data, those kinds of things. Now those measurements are often what we call averages when we're talking about center. And there are three common averages that we talk about in statistics. There's the mean, the median, and the mode. Now, when most people think about the word average, they really are thinking about the mean. Now, the mean is what we'd get if we took all of the data points, add them up, so sum them, and then divide by how many there are. So if we happen to have the data points 4, 6, and 2, if we were to add them up, 4 plus 6 plus 2, we would get 12, and then divide that by 3, and we get 4. So the mean of these three numbers rather is 4. Now, to give you a visual of what you're doing when you add them up and divide by how many there are, is you're kind of balancing out the numbers. So we're taking, if you look at a visual of these numbers in terms of little blocks, 6 is a number that is taller than 4, which is in turn taller than 2. If we wanted to kind of average them all out, or sorry, kind of balance them all, because 6 is taller, we would want to take a little bit of 6 and kind of move it over to the shorter one, 2, to try to balance them up. And if you do that, what they will balance up to is what we call the mean. The mean is the balancing point of all of those numbers. If you were to kind of rearrange them so that they're all the same height, you would get that common height is what you are calculating when you calculate the mean. So that's kind of an understanding, a visual understanding of the mean. The median is a little bit simpler. The median is simply the middle value if you sort the data set out. So if we have these three numbers and you sorted them from low to high, 2, 4, and 6, the median would be the middle number. Now, in this particular data set, I have the same mean and median, but that doesn't have to be the case. And then the mode is the most common value in the group of values. And sometimes a value may occur more than any one of the other values, and then that would be considered the mode. In this case, everything occurs exactly once, so there is no most common value. So sometimes you may not have a mode, but modes actually do have some value in certain applications. Let's look at a couple of examples of finding these three averages, the mean, median, and mode, for two data sets. All right, so first data set, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 data values. So that's important to kind of recognize how many you have to begin with, because that will come into finding the mean. So to find the mean, we're going to add each of those 9 values up. 9 plus 12 plus 2 plus 8 plus 5 plus 10 plus 9 plus 4 plus 3. And then we'll divide by how many we had, which again was 9. So you must add before you divide. So when I add those numbers together, I get 62. Then we'll divide by 9. And we won't get an exact value. It'll be a decimal that goes off the page, but 62 divided by 9 is 6.88888, which we generally round at the first decimal point with means. So this would be 6.9. The other thing I wanted to mention in this last step is that there is an abbreviation for mean we often use that you'll see in textbooks, which is that we use an X and then a line over it. We call this X bar. This is an abbreviation. And it stands for the X for a general data value, and then the bar over it is what is representing the mean, the average or the mean X value. So the mean would be about 6.9. To find the median and the mode, what we need to do is organize the data. And we want to list it from low to high. So the lowest value I see in there is 2, the next lowest is 3, I think 4 comes next, then I see a 5. There's no 6, but I see an 8 and then 2 9s. You must list things more than once if they occur more than once, and then a 10 and a 12. Make sure you didn't miss anything. A good rule of thumb is add them up. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I started with 9. So that's a good sign that I didn't miss any. The median will actually be the data value that is right in the middle. If you count over from both directions, you'll see that 8 is the value that's right in the middle. The mode will be the data point that occurs most frequently, and 9 occurs twice. Nothing else occurs more than once, so 9 would be the mode. So we have the mean, the median, and the mode. All right, so I've got a second data set. Pause the video briefly and go ahead and try that one out, and then I'll show my answers. Okay, so let's go through these together. I started the process for finding the mean, median, and mode. The mean is to add all the values together, and there were 8 values this time, and divide by 8. So 10 plus 6 plus 8 plus 9 plus 30 plus 18 plus 14 plus 16 gives me 111 divided by 8. When we round that off, we get that x bar, or the mean, is approximately 13.9. So again, we always round at the first decimal point. If technically we round at 1 decimal point beyond what the original data was, since the original data was whole numbers, we round out to the first decimal point. So there's the mean. One thing that can happen that is the most common way that people make mistakes in finding the mean is they don't add the numbers correctly, and that they miss one, or they put an extra one in, or they accidentally divide by the wrong number. The way to catch that is that this should be kind of around the center of your data if you have it organized, or at least kind of be near there. You should never have it be really low or really high, so that can be one way to look for it. If I'm doing this on a quiz or an exam, I would just do it twice just to make sure I didn't miss anything. And it's a pretty quick calculation, so that's easy to do. And then for finding the median and the mode, we want to look at the center of the data for the median. Now, if you look at this data set, because there's 8 of them, there is no single number that is the center. So when we don't have a single number at the center, we want to look at what is right in between the 2 numbers that are at the center. So we have 2 numbers of 10 and 14 that are kind of in the middle here. What I want to do is look at what's halfway between them. Now you could probably just look at that and say, well, 12 is halfway between them. But the other thing you can do is calculate it, if I wanted to, by going ahead and taking 10 plus 14 divided by 2. So a brief average of the 2 values in the middle, and that will get you to exactly what the middle value is. So the median is 12, and then the mode would be the value that occurs more frequently. If you look at these, they all occur exactly once, so we would say there is no mode in this case.